we're ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, let's see if that does it. Check, check. Yeah, there's no audio because I didn't have it turned on. Now you should hear me. We're good. Alrighty. Yeah, I had it zoomed in, which is a good point. There we go. I think you mean the screen was big. It just zoomed in. Yeah. Still doing some work on it though, Clay. How's everybody doing? Everybody have a good weekend? Let's see. It's the Thai New Year. Okay, Happy New Year, Thailand. Hard head game this morning. Oh, is that Monday or just life or just Monday or what is it? Aside from the lack of sleep. Well, you're good for about 20 years, Tim. Yeah, it was too fast. Well, Mackenzie, I'm just going to boot you for that. One day it will get better. You might say 1 year, 1 decade. It's going to take a while. Actually, once they start sleeping 8 hours, that's kind of a nice relief. got to stay strong with that. Yep, that's all you can do. You just stay with it, and eventually they start sleeping in larger stretches. A couple hours at a time would be nice, right? Yeah, then when they finally get to school and it's Saturday and they don't want to get out of bed, that's when you can have some fun with them. Revenge, parental revenge. And Dallas, man, he was the worst of them all. Dallas and Courtney, I had two. It just, you needed dynamite to get him out of bed on a Saturday. And if he wasn't on a schedule now that forced him out of bed sooner, then he would still sleep till noon, 2 o'clock if he had to. I understood it back in the days when he stayed up late, but he's on a entrepreneur trader schedule now, and he's in the bed like grandpa time. So, but he still has that ability to sleep 15 hours if you let him. All right. So Tim has some questions, so we'll get to that maybe. Tim, I see him. Thank you. So I wanted to go over a couple of things that is here. This first one's pretty exciting. This is going to be a new alert. We're just adding a few things to it, mainly some lower level stuff. But I'm going to do chart settings on Ink to Go. Now you know where my Monday is. Okay, Ink to Go doesn't want to play. If I leave it on over the weekend, I think it's sleeping in itself. Gets a little funky. Doesn't like to play Monday mornings. And still being that way. Being a little obstinate. Okay. Oh, where is it? Let me check all these monitors, see if it came up. Didn't come up. Alright. Sorry about that. Gotta go black screen for a second to get at my task manager. It leaves itself in the task manager. And I have to go there and get rid of it. Anybody else have that issue? And then when I go to call it up, it'll come up this time, I think. No, Google. Yeah, there it is on a different monitor. Alright. Sorry about that, guys. Normally I'm a little bit ready with Ink to Go, and I just wasn't today. Alright, now let's try this again. Yeah, there's my pen. Anyway, so you see this thing over here, or an indicator field. HT, ATF, and so that stands for harmonic targets, all time frames. So it's a multi-time frame. I really can't call it MTFA, but it is a multi-time frame harmonic targets. So if you recall, when we look at a 30-minute chart, we've been, if you've been through Shredder and you've been through my Fibonacci stuff, on a 30-minute chart, we track that EMA 62. It's the middle of the road, and we talk about it being the middle of the road on all time frames, plus or minus the 1 hour where we can use the Vegas tunnel, but the 62 has its relationships there. And we then have this thing called the 1362 cross, where the EMA 13 crosses the EMA 62 on our 30-minute chart. And from there, we built out, based on what I saw over a large number of moves, a 144 harmonic, for which when we put Fibonacci values across that 144 harmonic, we end up getting these static, based on that 1362 cross, harmonic targets. We've used them for money management. We used them for support and resistance. We know the sweet spots. The 89 pulls back to 72, sometimes 55 quite often, but any one of them could turn it 55, 110, which is a derivative. And so this dynamic with the 1362 cross exists on all time frames. So the only thing that makes this unique here and we'll just randomly call this the 89. The only thing that makes this part of the overall system of harmonic targets and whatnot is the fact that I have 30 written there. I could have 3, and this would hold true as well. It's just we would want to color the 62 red. It could be 5 minutes. Now, here's the thing. We're not going to, we're talking about trading a 15-minute harmonic target, for which you can use the 30, but you're still trading a 30-minute harmonic target. We drop this down to 5 minutes. The same reality holds. Okay, I can't do a color replace here. It's not that sophisticated of a drawing tool, but I can overwrite the best I can. So we would see that. We would color that one magenta or purple or whatever we want to call it. And we would have our 51362 cross, our 1362 cross, and from there we could generate harmonic targets. And that's going to be true for all time periods, because the 62 is the center of the road. This is why we have the ability. What we're really doing here is adding a harmonic target reality to something you've already been working with called shadow bands. So shadow bands are, if you put them on a chart, it's going to be on the time period you put on the chart. So this is now going to be true for ATF. So this would be 5-minute harmonic targets. This would be based on the 5-minute EMA 13 crossing the 5-minute 62, 21, 34, blah, 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 89. And our quick, we did this quick and dirty, just pulled some of the code from, INS just to test this out because I wanted to see, how accurate this was. And it's deadly accurate. So for 5-minute time frames, it's very cool. I've had to do some interpretation, meaning find the 1362 cross and add lines in there because we didn't have the 5, 8, and 13 yet. We just have the 21, 34. So there are lower level time frames. But let me show you this, which is just, look, do me a favor, quick, for those here. In your chat box, type how long you've been at this. If it's, when I'm talking this, I mean trading with Steve, trading with me. Shredder, TAB29. So you can put it in months. If it's been long, you can just say years. But let me give me some time frame here so I see who's in the audience today. Yeah, some of you just dropped out. That's funny. You didn't even bother putting X number of years. You just said years. Too long. I know. I get it. So some of you may get woo-woo chills when we do things on the charts. Others may just go, okay, nice. If you've been trading outside of the new paradigm, you've been trading old paradigm stuff, you haven't been that familiar with Shredder or TAB29 or my look at harmonics. A lot of woo-woo just, may not seem woo-woo to you, but I'm still here 16 plus years later, and I still get a chill when I see stuff that's, it's based like this: 1362 cross harmonics on a 144 harmonic with Fibonacci ratios applied to it to create a static sequence, and see price bounce off those things. It still does, and I'm just amazed at it. And so on this particular chart here, as I said, I don't have the lower level harmonic targets on here yet, but you can see, well, normally I could when my eyes aren't blind. You can see the 13 here very faintly, and it comes down and crosses over this 62, which I still have blue just for testing. And so it does accurately mark it. You'll see harmonic target all time frames 1362 cross. And then we go down from there. You can see the 21 and the 34. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is look at the reverse compliance. Now, obviously, every time we have a cross down, right here, we had a different set of down lines. And then we have this cross here, which creates the down lines that you see now. So this is here only because of this most recent cross. But look at this previous 21 hit, and look at this previous 34 hit. And so when you see reverse compliant like that, it's hard to see the lines. Okay. There's an answer for everything, right? So, I mean, you can go grab this, but I would just say wait, because I'll have it in a day or two with the right stuff. So let's just, these are red. Let's just make this, that didn't seem to do anything. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be invoking it, so I guess I'll have to do this. No big deal. So there's our cross. Here's our 21. And here's the 34. Real close to it. There we go. Yeah, I might have broke it. I don't know. So now I can talk about reverse compliance. And you can say, well, it's nice that it saw this particular set of targets in the past. That's, whatever, half a pip away, and that looks like it's a direct hit. When you see these reaches, it's pretty significant, because that means these down targets here, of course, the ones painted in here would be pretty good. You can count on them. That's why we look for reverse compliance. And yeah, so it's a local indicator. Just consider it like shadow bands. So you would, if we come in here now, I wonder if it's just something I did or this version. See, we can do at the very bottom, we should have the EMAs, yeah. So I'll leave the 13. Man, I'm telling you, I swear we were. It does the EMAs, okay. And let's just do, this is what? A 15-minute chart, so we would have gold, pumpkin, whatever we want to call it. There we go. So you could physically change the stuff. So here's the cross, 15 coming below the 10, it's 13 coming below the 15 minutes 62. No, it doesn't auto color for the time frame. We haven't gone that far. Like I said, we just threw it out here. And it doesn't, this has nothing to do with multiple time frame analysis. So I'm not going to move the 5-minute targets to a 1 minute or anything like that. It's just whatever time frame you're on. So it's a local wave. It's a local plot, no different than if I were to put stochastics or gravity or whatever on here. We could put it on the list. There's stuff we're trying to do to bring out, the next version of TAB29 that's been on a laundry list, and we add and subtract that list all the time. So it's going to be pretty good. I just don't understand why the line stuff is not cooperating. It flashes it, but it doesn't. So we'll have to look at that. Yeah, it doesn't like playing with it. The EMAs work, but the lines don't. No, I did the reds are for the downs. So you have a up, down, up, down. So if I do the red, and just change the color just to see if that has an impact. It does change the color. Doesn't change the thickness. It's not allowing me to change the thickness. Yeah. So anyway, this is going to be a pretty cool tool for short time stuff. I showed, Clay the other day. I was doing some short term trading, and I had these on, and just a perfect pullback to a 21 divergence, the whole 9 yards for a clayway tray. And so those doing clayway, you'll find this. What do you mean your INS lines are green on the same pair? Because you're looking at for the same time frame? I don't understand your question. Are you talking about the harmonic targets inside INS, Tim? Because you're probably looking at 30. You're looking at 30-minute harmonic targets. Doesn't matter what time frame you put those on. If I have my 30-minute and I say show on lower time frames, if I put it on my 15-minute chart or my 5-minute chart, I'm looking at 30-minute harmonic targets. So there might be an up move at the 30-minute level. Yeah. So you're in a current up move from down here's your cross. So it's all up. Well, they're green here too on a 30-minute chart because right now the 30-minute 1362 cross is up. That's why I said it's local. If I put it on another time frame, it's local. Somebody said, Tim, put the weed down. Yeah, loco. It's 4:15, not 4:20. Coming up, 5 days. Yeah, it was, Tim. Is it really, Zoe? Happy birthday, Mr. Packus. Everybody wish Mr. Packus a happy birthday today. Let's flood him in Facebook land. Yay, another trip around the sun. I was only briefly on Facebook on the way to the gym today, so I didn't have much time on it. So anyway, harmonic targets, any time frame coming to a indicator listing near you in the next 24 to 48 hours. All right, so let's talk about something else. Yeah, there you go, Tim. What better way to have Steve wish you happy birthday at 1:27 a.m. Gosh, you Aussies are so dedicated. I love it. All right. So we have another one on here, TAB29 Alerts 2.0. Some of you were asking me last week for the enable code because you saw it pop up in your charts. And I was holding back because we were still kind of testing this. And I want to make sure. So right now there had been previously two versions of TAB29 Alerts, TAB29, just the general alerts that were originally packaged. And then there was, for some people doing some higher time frame stuff, we had TAB29 Alerts HTF, which was dedicated towards the higher time frames. So this is an all-round TAB29 alert system, and this is the one you're going to want to use. We can't delete old indicators. I can make them inoperable by just putting screwy code in there, but they don't allow me to delete old indicators yet. We're going to make a list after we bring out the 3.0 or 2.0 or whatever we're going to call it with TAB29. I'm going to give them a laundry list and see if they'll delete some of the old stuff. But so TAB29 Alerts 2.0, and that should be downloadable for you. Don't go get it now because you don't have an enable code for it. But what TAB29 Alerts 2.0 will allow you to do is put TAB29 alerts on your chart for the daily wave, for an 8-hour wave, for a 4-hour wave, for a 1-hour wave, 30, and then a 15 peak, a 10 peak, and power 15, and power 10. And you can do that with the exception of there's no reason to mix power 15, power 10 with anything. You should only be using those for, shorter term trading. And we'll see some requirements with that. But so let's look at the power 10 and power 15 just so we fully invoked what it is so you don't have to mess with it. So the power 10 uses the same waves that we used to create the power 10 indicator, which means we're taking the 10-minute wave, the 5-minute wave, and the 3-minute wave. So all of those peaks, if you will, are then averaged to create the power 10. So if you set an alert for the power 10 at 85 on the upside, then the peak 10, 5, and 3 as an average must be at or beyond the 85. So the power 10 alert fully takes into consideration what it's comprised of. Same thing with the 15, but it's got a different construction, right? The 15 is going to take the 15, the 10, and the 5. And the 3 of those average will all have to be past 85. So truly, you know, as it should be, as a trio, the power 10 and the power 15 will give you a good alert as is by itself. Now, I can take a 4-hour wave, you know, which is the 240, and combine it with a 30-minute wave to get the typical 30-240 convergence. So I have a more precision on the 4-hour wave rather than just doing it on peak 240 by itself. Any questions on all of that? Or any of that? So this is an all time frame alert. I say all, we're not doing 3-minute, 5-minute alerts. So if you're, let's say as an example, you know, it just depends on how you want to set your traps, right? Let's say I have a 4-hour pitchfork. I can, you know, and prices between the median and the upper parallel, I can put sandwich alerts, you know, parallel lines before the upper parallel and, you know, before the median, and run the lines as alerts. So anytime price interacts with that, I can then come to the charts. But maybe I trade my pitchforks in such a way that says I don't want to trade a pitchfork bounce unless it is a harmonic wave convergence, especially on the big long moves. That's because that drives your detail. No, it's not, Rowan. We don't teach trading 5-minute wave, harmonic wave convergences. Yeah, it's what it is. It's what it is. So we don't, you know, we're not teaching that these days. We'll just leave it at that. So we teach 10-minute harmonic wave convergences, and the way we can measure pullbacks on a 10-minute wave, you either satisfy for the 10-minute wave gating to 80-20, or you use other technologies such as shadow bands on the 5, things like that. But I'm not going to get into supporting 5-minute convergences. You know, you can do that on your own. And quite frankly, if you're doing 5-minute convergences, you need to be on the charts anyway. You can't be doing alerts for that. If you're burst trading, scalping at that level. No, it's a combined. I'll show you the indicator. So it works with whatever you check off. It's going to do that for. So if I come in here and select 240 and 30-minute, those two conditions are going to have to be met before the alert will sound off. So it's an and situation. That's not or. So this was put together more so to accommodate higher time frames and not have to have it as a separate alert mechanism. So we can just, everybody can have one the same. So use it. And as you can see here, the current enable code is alerts gold. Yeah, if you like doing buys in the sells and sells into the buys, and you like doing that against a snake, this is going to be a good way of looking at that. You know, a 30-minute convergence pulling against a 240 snake, a 30-minute, let's say the 240 snake's at the top and the 30-minute convergence at the bottom. That's not just going to be your normal 30-minute trade. That's going to be a 30-minute trade that slingshots the retracement of the 240 wave most of the time. So yeah, so now you can start combining that particular 30-minute convergence with either harmonic targets, which we'll circle back to and teach more. We haven't done it in a while. Or Hull, or any number of things, for money management. But you're looking, you're trading a larger wave. It's going to be a stronger, more defined is probably how I would say it. You're narrowing down the possibilities of what stuff's going to do. For the newer folks, I want to remind you that you get exposed to a lot of stuff at intermediate and advanced levels, and I would just be careful with that. Because one of the common mistakes in coming from the old paradigm to the new paradigm that I still see newer Shredder and newer TAB29 traders do is demonstrating your ego or exposing your ego by trying to show forecasts and projections on your charts. And that's not a good thing. That's, you don't need to show off on social media where you think your skills are. For one, because that's just supporting your ego. No, it doesn't matter what time frame it's on. No, it's not supposed to. In my limited testing, it hasn't mattered. But again, I'd want to be practical. I don't need to see a 30-minute and 240 at whatever wave conditions I say, and see that alert show up on my 1-minute chart. I think that's, especially with 4-hour wave snaking. But, other practical uses to put, no problem. So anyway, don't be doing projections. I mean, that's just advice. If you want to do it, go ahead and hurt yourself. Because like I said, it's in support of your ego, and you don't want to do things to support your ego. You want to do things to keep it in check. And you posting for, especially as a newer trader, when I see especially newer traders doing it, it's like, oh my gosh, please. The second thing it's going to do is it creates an RAS set for your projection. Yes, as Dave Meyer said, I'd rather grab a 6-inch nail and hammer it through my eyeball. Because, yeah, I know. I wasn't going to go there, Mr. Munsinger. It forms an RAS set, and it may show you only things that support your thoughts about. This is one reason why it's such a quandary to teach like wave 2 and Elliott wave. Oh, the 2-3 is the most explosive move, so if we can find the wave 2, and it's almost always going to be the first major pullback at time period from a harmonic wave convergence. Doesn't always mean it really is the 2 wave, but it's going to have the same properties. So the next thing I know, people are showing me where the wave 4 is going to end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't try and count Elliott wave. It's a waste of time. And it's not going to help you. It gets you focusing on the wrong things, and your RES will go to work to show you what you gave it the order for. And it's not going to show you the things you need to see. So the old paradigm educators who like to do 4-hour support and resistance and do bounces off those lines to try and forecast where price is going, it's like, hey, cool, look at me, I've got the magic power here. The problem is, as we know, those are potential support and resistance lines, and they have no way of guaranteeing those lines aren't going to be breached with hot knives going through butter, or they're going to bounce. Especially at those levels, there's just not enough there to give you a hint of what may happen. And as we know, in intraday support and resistance, we talk about rotating through the various components, including Fibonacci, including pitchforks. We even talk about phase shift, changing the angle on a best fit pitchfork after 2 or 3 days if you see better touches. We talk about some days the Camarilla system is just hot. You'll see 3, 4, 5 hits off, to the pip off the cam lines. That day, price is going through Fibo pivots, hot knife through butter. Other days, the Fibo pivots are holding it. Other days, it's the DP30. And then something happens and the universe and its woo-woo goes, today I think I'll use cam lines. There's no rhyme or reason. I haven't figured it out, and I haven't seen anybody tell me how. And so that occurs at the 4-hour level too. It's just a fractal scale of the same scenario. What was great support and resistance for the last 2 weeks, it may phase shift today. And those lines that you have on your chart from a 4-hour markup could be as invalid as yesterday's cam lines when today it's Fibo pivots that's holding. So it's you go through evolutions and progressions as a trader, and you'll see a lot of the times the guys that have been really at it hard for 6 months to 2 years are the ones that love to draw 4-hour support and resistance and mark them up. Because it's an ego thing. Because to new traders, it's like, well, how do you know where price is going? Gosh, they must be a Forex guru. And then you see them doing entry orders based on those lines with big fat stop losses because it's a 4-hour chart, and they miss them and get big stops, or a price turns around before their lines and they cancel the trade. So the fact that they can get stopped out on a limit order and cancel it because it's, price reverses way short of it just tells you the lines are not gold. And so I don't care what level you're at. You don't want to tell your RAS, you don't want to, expose your RAS to a thinking that says this is where I believe price is going to go. Because that's an order to your RAS. Okay, this is where he thinks it's going to go. Let's show him all the stuff in support of that. Don't show him anything that's going to show it's not going to do that. Okay, Josh. So, don't be afraid. Those of you that have been around a little while and understand all this, especially in terms of RAS building and RAS, especially new traders, they want to keep the number of RAS sets as small as possible and just drive them in depth and width to get to subconscious flow. So if you see posts like that where somebody's posting, their projections, you can be kind, but just say, hey, we don't do projections because projections force an RAS set that may make you miss a trade or may make you stay in the trade when you shouldn't be taking it. And we don't, we're not in here to teach it. So try to avoid that. Difference between an expectation and a possibility. When you note it as a possibility, you're giving your mind the understanding that, hey, there may be other alternatives here. It's just like, your friend that's having the gathering Saturday night and asks you to go, and you don't necessarily know if that's what you want to do. So, hey, yeah, I'll try and make it. I'll try and make it. You're telling them and yourself you don't have to go. You're not committing to it. Well, you get better at it, but see, here's the thing. What's good for a new trader isn't necessarily applicable to somebody that's been at it several years. It just depends on how your RAS set's going. It depends on how your trading has already been going. Your trading is a reflection of your RAS management. What you've exposed it to, how you react to it. Remember, it's like your RAS is a program, garbage in, garbage out. So if you give your RAS bad stuff, you're going to get bad stuff at the other end. If you give your RAS nondescript stuff, it's going to have nondescript stuff at the other end. And so your trading results are a reflection of your RAS. It's just that simple. So a newer trader that's evolving depth and breadth in existing RAS sets and slowly adding to those RAS sets, meaning additional RAS sets that you can fly between, interchangeably on the fly depending on conditions. Most of you who have a newer car that has automatic transmission probably aren't paying much attention to exactly what speed your car shifts from third to fourth. Old sports cars days, you'd hear it by the engine sound, you'd know by the tachometer. Manual shift. And so that's how you want your RAS sets to work. You don't even know you're shifting between one and the other. That's just subconscious flow. But you'll never get there if you're always dancing all around at the beginning. So somebody, I could take Tim Packus, who's been around, 7, 8 years, and he can have a 4-hour pitchfork, which has been lasting for weeks. He knows how to see the pitchfork. He knows how to look at TAB29. He knows how to look at Fibonacci. And he could jump between those RAS sets. The newer trader can't do that yet. They're just not as refined by volumes of trades. There's just an absolute difference between somebody that has 5,000 hours of trading and somebody that has 500. As long as they've been methodical in their growth, right? So don't switch your RAS sets. So anyway, TAB29 alerts. This will be really good. So as I was saying, I don't know if I finished it. If you're trading that 4-hour pitchfork, and that's what you're really trading, but you want the pitchfork to have harmonic wave convergence, well, you can set the alerts on the pitchfork. Way back when I really started merging pitchforks with harmonic wave convergence, I always said you have to decide what you're trading. Are you going to be a true pitchfork trader, or are you going to be a harmonic wave, a true pitchfork trader who sometimes will facilitate their trades with harmonic wave convergence, or are you going to be a harmonic wave convergence trader who sometimes facilitates their trades with a pitchfork? They are two different things. Because a pitchfork trader who uses harmonic wave convergence sometimes to facilitate their trades. Rewind the tape. A pitchfork trader. A pitchfork trader. So a pitchfork trader who uses harmonic wave convergence may have a pitchfork trade without harmonic wave convergence because they have an energy point. And for whatever reason, that's one of those that harmonic wave convergence didn't register. It was short, it was late, whatever. It was sitting there at the 85 and you really wanted to get to the 89. But you had a triple energy point with a Fibonacci and a diagonal, the upper parallel, and it was a harmonic target 89. So the pitchfork trader says, there's a high probability this is going to go. The harmonic wave convergence trader who has a pitchfork on the chart may indeed take a harmonic wave convergence because it's hitting a support and resistance line 5 pips short of the pitchfork. So he's going to trade harmonic wave convergence. If it hit on the pitchfork, the pitchfork is just another one of his support and resistance tools. So somewhere along the line, you have to decide what it is you're trading. Am I going to be a pitchfork trader right now at 4-hour level, or am I a harmonic wave convergence trader? And I know how to drop down in time frame and use multiple support and resistance, get my HPRs, high probability reversal clusters, etc. So if you're a harmonic wave convergence trader, then I can use 4-hour alerts rather than 4-hour pitchfork lines, even if I have a pitchfork on the chart. So it's allowing you to accommodate your trading style and your objectives. That's all. Any questions about alerts 2.0? So use them. If you find bugs, let me know. We'll fix them right away. So I had a request to talk a little bit about EMAs on different time frames. I don't want to spend too much time there because we are going to have I won't say a new version, it's just a different version, but there's going to be a Power 62 program or Power 62 course. And it will be multiple time frame based. So I don't want to spend too much time on the concept of EMAs on different time frames. What I want to say is this: what are you trading? You want to have, well, no, I don't want to say that. You need to decide whether you want a money management system that's going to be precise, get you X pips securely that you can get out of and move on the charts with your head game, regardless of what the trade does after you exited the trade. I know that's like a couple mouthfuls. That's taking a sip of water off the fire hose, as they say. In other words, in your RAS progression, I'll go back to quickfire for those that are familiar with quickfire off a harmonic scan. There were the first things that were taught were get 10 pips. Get 10 pips, get out, bank 10 pips, which is where the 80-85 CD length came to play, because if we have a successful scan that goes 15%, 89.33% of the time, then that'll give you 10 pips. So it was always go for 10 pips. All right. And then we changed it. Once you get that mastered and you learn how to get 10 pips and get out, you don't, see, when you're doing that, you don't worry about if it went 45 pips. Because that wasn't your objective. Your objective was to get 10 pips and get out. And let me see what kind of win percentages I can have with that. If I align my, if I used all that old paradigm criteria, 5 Bollinger Bands and hitting one of them and, MACD divergence and blah, 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 blah. So I had all these layered criterias to hope the D was somewhat in an area somewhat settled using still the scan stop loss, which was pretty big. Sometimes on 15-minute charts, it was in a 15 to 25 pip area. But the bottom line was do my best to get the criteria right, get in that trade, get 10 pips, and get out. And so many people, the vast majority of the people that are doing just that, were doing good. The people that struggled were the ones that beat themselves up because it went 30 pips and they got out at 10. So then they start trying to figure out ways they could stand for 30 pips, but then when it went 10 in reverse, they didn't get the 10 pips. See, the head game is always going to rule in the end. So your adaptation, people say, what's the best money management here? That's like asking, if you have TV on at all, well, here in the States, you got Maria Osmond and Dan Marino selling Nutrisystems, and you got South Beach, and you got Weight Watchers, and Jenny Craig, and of course now, everybody's doing some form of keto. Whether they really are or not, it's another story. But so what's the best diet out there? If somebody says, I want to lose 20 pounds, what's the best diet out there? Well, you're right on that, Tony. I'm just speaking in general terms. Don't get too. Yeah, the one that works with your belief system, for sure. The one that works for you, that's the best one. Don't do the smoke weed diet. Yes, I think, wow, it must be because 420 is getting close. So, the diet that works best, that's the one that's best for you. The one that works, and most of the time that's going to come from a belief and action, the one that you can believe in, and that when you take action on it, you believe you're going to get the results, and so you stick with it. We now know a lot of things about long-term success and reality, what it does to your body with the whole concept of eat less, exercise more, which is tremendous failure. Jack Daniel's bacon, there's your... So money management works the same way. What's the best money management system? The one that works for you. The one that you make work for you. Which is why we teach several. Because out of every 10 people, sometimes one particular money management system is going to work really well. Other times it won't. It just depends on the 10 people. Because it's still head game. If your goal is to get 10 pips and you get 10 pips and then you beat yourself up because it went 30 and it's weighing on you and you're trying to adjust, I'm leaving money on the table. Well, up front, that's the discipline you need to build not only your account in your trading station, but for your head game. So your head game has a resilience, your head game has a discipline. You can move that to other trading, to other money management schemes. So then we have realities of, like, even in Quickfire, we moved from getting 10 pips to what? The next thing was targeting the haul. Why? Because if you draw a CDX on a 15-minute scan, we know from a traditional pitchfork you have an 80% chance of getting to the median. You'll get 10 pips on the way, but you can't get 10 pips and exit because it might go back and do a wave 2 retest of the parallel, and you either erode your 10 pips, or if you exited, then you wouldn't get to the median. So after you've mastered get 10 pips, then we move you to the median. Then what was the third one after that? Using the hull. And then tab 29. So each one of them have a different possibility, and your ability to maximize that possibility for that money management system is your ability to stick with it and not beat yourself up either way. Whether it ends up hurting you, or whether it ends up hurting you in that you don't achieve it, or you achieve your goal and you get out because your money management system get out, and then price continued on. So, but the newer trader, you can't hear that intermediate stuff. You can't hear that cut your losses short and let your profits run, which anybody that's ever written a trading book always says somewhere in that book. It's going to say, the key to trading is to let your profits run and to cut your losses short. Well, that sounds great on paper. Implementing it with your head game is another story, as many of us can attest. And then you have time frame risk reward. What if I have a 30-240 convergence? How should I trade that? If I trade the whole thing as a 30-minute wave, at some point there's going to be a pullback that takes me out. But if it was a 240 system, I'd probably still be in yet. And say, well, I better use the 240 system then so I can catch those bigger moves. Yeah, well, the trouble is it has a bigger pullback, and you have to allow for that. And therefore, if I want the 240 big pips, I have to allow the bigger pullbacks. And then you get upset because, if I was trading 30-minute strategy, I could have had 30-minute pips there. I could have had 55 pips. This thing backed up, and I went from plus 55 to minus 3. Yeah, the old could have had. So that's, once you learn both models, this is why up front, demo trade to put in your laboratory, demo trade to see yourself what happens. Then we can say, okay, if you haven't noticed yet through observation or demo trading, here's a way to optimize that situation. So if it's going to be a shorter term play and you really need to take the 30-minute exits, so you don't give up everything you earned by using 240 exits, but yet to stay in the trade so you have the 240 pips while you protect yourself from the fast pullbacks that are going to erode, or the deep pullbacks that are going to erode. So you compromise it. So you say, you know what? I'll split my lots in half. I'll still risk 2% in this trade. 1% I'll trade as a 30-minute money management system, and the other 1% I'll trade as a 240 money management system. And you compromise. And you learn to accept that compromise. Man, good thing I had half my lots in that for the 240 thing, because this went 350 pips. Man, I'm glad I had half my lots in this thing in the 30-minute system, because it pulled back and I at least got to bank 50 pips with half my lots. Whereas the 240 came back and I got break even. Now, you never maximize in that kind of straddle strategy where you're using one management for one time frame and another for another. You'll never optimize what you could have had at the 30-minute level if you were always successful in 30-minute trades. And you can't optimize what you would have had at the 240 level if you were just doing 240 trades, but you minimize those big erosions. The 30-minute then makes up for that. So you sit there and say, okay, you know, it's a way of using strategies that your mind can accept and you don't beat yourself up too much with. This is why we kind of do the same thing with the haul by, you know, the whole purpose of the multi-time frame haul was to allow you to get to a reasonable point on a given time frame where the haul is saying it's time to exit. And it has more sense than you do. I'll just say that. It's not like it's, you know, artificial intelligence. I'm not saying that, but it has a consistency. Because I can tell you this, for all the traders I've known that have been trading multiple years, very few of them, if you were to measure the trade moves they had, can say they've captured 77% of the move on an average. Very few of them. But that's exactly what the haul does. It averages about a 23% pullback before it takes you out of the entire move. So it achieves a consistency that you can't do on your own, so therefore you robotically run with it. We've always talked about trade like a robot. That's why robots that work are so good. Because they keep doing the same thing and they don't let those, you know, well, last time I did this, it didn't work. A robot doesn't care. It's going to do the same thing this time anyway. Well, the last 3 times I exited here, it went for another 20 pips. The robot doesn't care. It's going to do the same thing here. So with the haul, you have money management that allows you to optimize just like in a 32-40 situation. You know, it optimizes whatever time period I'm on and says, hey, you know, it's going to average over time. This is going to give me a 77% of the move, which is damn good in trading. Now, most traders can't measure waves, so, you know, they don't objectively have a way of measuring themselves in the old paradigm. We know we can because we can go convergence to convergence. And if I can capture 75% of that pretty consistently, or 77%, I'm doing really well in terms of pip accumulation. Instead of spending your time trying to get it higher than 77%, just go take more trades at 77%. And don't let the head game get in there and stop you from trying to adjust what you're doing based on conditions. So the haul allows you to do that as a money management system. Hey, this is the logical time I'm supposed to exit this time frame. I'll take out whatever, 75% of my lots. I'll leave 25% in, and I'll kick it into the next higher level time frame. But I'm not going to allow bigger erosion. That's, you know, right now, I'll allow bigger erosion once it continues to move forward. So even my lots that are in there, they're not going to go out now. So they either gain more or they're going to go out where I am. And if it gains more and gains more and gains more, then I allow the flip, which should be, at that point, 77% of wherever it went. So you're always, you know, the ideal money management system is going to be something that allows you to have compromise, and the compromise works for you financially. It optimizes over time the possibilities that are there, but at the same time, you can live with it trade to trade to trade in your head. So this is why brand new traders shouldn't be doing intermediate and advanced money management. You're not ready for it. Your head isn't ready for it yet. And you'll be making decisions about this works, this doesn't work way prematurely based on 5 trades versus 5,000 trades. We may change that at some point, but right now, the question's about why can't you do this, why can't you do that with Bollinger Bands on TAB29. A lot of it's because what we're willing to support. And we have some very specific stuff about 10 minutes that if you're talking about a retracement on a 10-minute, I don't need a Bollinger Band on a 10-minute chart is going to have much more slush in measuring a 10-minute pullback than you will have by putting the Bollinger Band on the 5-minute, letting the 5-minute wave get to an extreme on a 10-minute pullback. That's going to be much more precise. And we've just found that the simple statistics show the more options afforded a trader just is an exponential reality to their ability to mess it up. I almost said some wrong words. So it makes no sense. And it's like, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant and all that stuff, but if you haven't figured it out yet, I am pretty much a meticulous tester. I am, at that level, I am type A OCD, very thorough. And when we looked at waves, when I first brought out multi-wave, when I first evolved it through seeing what was happening, I went through all sorts of combinations and, permutations and combinations. Good old statistical talk. And, looked at what was tradable by reality, and then the whole concept, the new paradigm, can't be lost is we're always looking for precision ways of dealing with stuff because, look, as an intermediate to advanced trader, 10-3 goes out the door. You're more 5-2. But you can't do that as a new trader. And so when I say explore, I'm not really talking about trying to go out and invent something that we've already eliminated through our process of research and study. Oh, look, I found this new novel way of trading TAB29. 99 out of 100 times, if it worked consistently, you'd already have that. I'm not saying there's not room for innovation by traders who push hard. Okay? Not saying that at all. I mean, I could look at the attendance at Tim and Zoe and Mark, and and then again we start fading in other people really quick who's been around a long time. I mean, you guys know at one point, even 3 years ago, you wouldn't hear me say divergence. It was such a bad, evil thing that we just called, don't say the D word in here. And now we routinely use it. So there's, not emotionally attached to anything. I just, don't say that, Tim. Tim Munsinger. Don't say that out loud. Don't say that in the group. Yeah. So, we're not emotionally attached to anything, but in terms of multi-wave, in terms of TAB29, we've looked at stuff, and for the most part, we're there. I used to do tons of stuff at the 3-minute level. You don't see a 3-minute chart ever from me. And yet that's pretty much what I used to exclusively trade. So my comment about Bollinger Bands would be this. The one thing we've taught, the one thing we've exposed you to is Bollinger Bands on peak 5 on a 5-minute chart. And so I would master that before I worry about Bollinger Bands on anything else. Somebody hands you a golden goose and you're asking, well, why can't the sheep have gold baby sheep? It's like, have you really cashed out on a couple hundred golden goose eggs? Why are we looking to see if the sheep, who doesn't even reproduce are birthed in the same manner, why are we looking to see if the sheep can have gold baby sheep? It's a bad idea. Zinger. Yep, used to have them on a 3-minute chart. Tim knows. And back then, still, don't put them on the 1 minute. It's just too flat to every 5 seconds, the 1 minute was hitting a Bollinger Band. You can't trade that. Right? So anyway, not trying to beat up on the question there, but just, All right, in a 10-1 without 30 influencing, if the trade starts out without the 30, then as the trade moves to the opposite harmonic wave convergence of the 10-1 and the 30 follows it, we still exit at the opposite harmonic wave convergence, or should we change it to a 30-minute trade? So that's where you start moving from beginner to intermediate, more so intermediate to advanced. You're going to learn to, it's a great question. And again, because I want to encourage questions, so a lot of these times I won't say who said it. And I do that just to encourage that person to continue ask questions. So it's a great question. Okay. But this is where you'll learn that the tools we have, there's a time and place to use them. That's not what you're taught brand new out of the gates. Hey, this is multi-wave, purple and the blue. Or if you're TAB29, it's here 10-1. Pick what you're trading. Let me give you the spoiler alert. If somebody wants to put their earplugs in and turn away from the chart for 30 seconds, you'll learn to use many other things besides the wave plots to guide you in a trade once you're in the trade. What do you think Hall with Bands is about? It doesn't matter what the waves are doing once I've committed to using the Hall. They could converge, they can be short, they could be retracing, they could be shy of Bollinger Bands, touching Bollinger, through Bollinger, it doesn't matter. I'm not using the waves, you might as well take TAB29 off the charts. If I catch a 8-hour move at a bottom and I'm watching it now cross up across the 30-minute 62, I can use harmonic targets and harmonic target stop losses, and I don't care about the waves. I'm not letting the waves guide me at that point. The money management system is. Early on, you have to determine what it is you're trading. If you're going to trade 10-minute harmonic wave convergence to harmonic wave convergence, that's what you need to trade. And if it gets to the top and it if you can see a clear, even though we don't use lower level leading upper level, heavily like we do in Shredder with multi-wave, we don't use it as heavily in TAB29. If you recognize what's going on, if you have enough trades that you can see it's the 10 minutes leading, it's going to retrace a little and then go to a higher convergence, which drag the 30 up to the final convergence. Once you have the experience set for that, then understand it. See, guys, this is a point where I want to communicate that you want to do your exploratory work and let the trading be your laboratory. Too many traders are trying to get what you're going to be doing with live money and try and learn that to trade. And it's not going to work because you want the reinforcement in your head about, oh crap, I've seen this 100 times and it doesn't do any good. Maybe once in a while, but for the most part, I can count on it not working. And likewise, man, I've seen this 200 times out of the last 300 trades. And every time it does this, it goes for 50 pips. Not always, but almost always. You want to get that and then look at that and say, oh, this is what Steve says to do. Oh, this is what Steve says to do. Now I get it. Because what you see in your own observation, see, that's where that stuff came from. It wasn't manufactured, I'm a 21-year-old living in mom's basement and just made up crap. All of the stuff we have that we kind of teach as set rules, guidelines, I can't call them rules because CFTC wouldn't like that. So all these guidelines for what to do in various situations come from thousands of trades and the probabilities. Well, Steve said to do this, and look at this, it didn't work. Well, yeah, because nothing's 100%, but we're still going with probabilities that you could live with over a volume of trades. Have a good day, Tim. Get some sleep and celebrate hard. So, don't look for answers and then trade just that. What should I do in this situation? Go take 50 trades of that situation and you'll know where you should head. And then when you get your feedback about what you should do, it's going to match what you observed and it really solidifies itself in your head. But what should I do in this situation? Those are hypotheticals. You have the data right there. You have these things called charts, which will help you understand them. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm not trying to be hard on the question. I'm just... All right. Anthony, I can't answer that. I can't take a paragraph with all sorts of stuff in it and close my eyes at the same time and visualize what you're talking about. So that's a question to use. Y'all need to learn how to use something. It is Screencast still out there and available? It's only there to record. Yeah, Snagit. Ink2Go also has video recording. So it's something you need to do a 2 or 3 minute video on. Draw it out. It's just, I can't answer that question. I'm sorry. It's just too much for me. I'm a visual person. So my GPS has to have the streets on it and a picture of my car. An audible instruction, turn right in 500 feet. I can process that, but it's a good question, I presume, but... And here's, again, all of the stuff you said there in that question, go trade it. But, guys, a demo account is a demo account. There's no real money at stake. You learn more by exercising the hypothetical and then repeating that over and over again. Do not draw a conclusion from one move on the chart. Note, this is what journals are for. Last time I saw this set up exactly the same way. Oh, look, it played out again this time. Oh, look, it played out again this time. Oh, look, it played out again this time. Now you're starting to form something. Let's see it do that 50 times, and 45 out of 50 times it does it the same way. You've got your answer. That is a much better way to learn than to be given the 50,000 page PDF, because you'll never learn the 50,000 page PDF. You can't take it from what you're taught and put that in charts through your RAS, because it's the RAS reality that blocks all that. This is why 3%ers very often don't make good teachers, because they don't understand that their RAS is at a certain level and all their students aren't. So you give this long, elaborate 22-step system, and nobody could duplicate it and trade it for success because they don't have the RAS to match the steps. Yes, that does require actual work. That's a good point, Zoe. It does require actual work. But that's what your demo accounts are for. Quit treating your demo accounts as if it's live money. That's the best philosophy I can give you as a learning objective or a learning philosophy is just don't trade your demo accounts as if they're live money. All right. So, TAB29 alerts, it's gold. Try them. If you have problems, look, guys, also help us help you. Nothing kind of more pet peevish to a coach in our, admins in the ScanSporks Fibos group or me. I'll just put myself out there. Do the whole thing. And I touched on this last week. It doesn't work. I put alerts on the chart and it's not working. That helps us nothing. Show us screenshots of your settings, get Ink to Go or some other editor and draw and make multiple charts and pictures and show us everything that's going on and then say, I've done this, this, and this, and this is the result I get. But don't just say it's not working. That doesn't help us. Okay. So alerts gold is the enable code. If we're going to change it, I'll let you know, but that's what it is for TAB29. Alerts 2.0. And like I said, it's an and system. So things you have checked off, both those conditions are going to have to be met in order for you to get an alert on your chart. And you can have differing thresholds. Maybe I have 85.15 for my 4-hour and 87.13 for my 30-minute. You can do that. Most things have a free trial, so it costs nothing to do. Just make a new email if you can't afford to do it. Yeah. Well, your charts don't keep a trading history, and, if you have learned to make your demo account and measure the results there, then you're not going to succeed. You need to get that out. That's old paradigm influence, and you need to get that out. You need to see your demo account in your learning progression as your experimental laboratory. And you have to have, you have to buy in to begin with that this is a long haul. Long is a relative word, but it's not a short haul. It's a long haul, H-A-U-L, not H-U-L-L. It's a long haul. And you're committed to that. And you're a trader when you get to be a trader, not by a date. Simple. All right, well, I see more fresh questions, and we've already been 90 minutes, so I'm going to call it quits here. I love questions. I love being able to answer them. And guys, don't ever take anything personally or too grisly or whatever. Just don't worry about my voice tone and fluctuations, etc. I'm here really to help. Very soon, Clay, maybe this week. Just depends. And, I'll try and have this up and posted later. And again, just the numbers, I'm worried about them. So get your TAB29 buddies in these sessions. It's a little bit more fun because, I live in a beach town and we're hitting late spring. And even though it's a little bit of a jog, I like going down to the beach. and it helps me think clearly. So I like do morning training and then go down to the beach for a little while. You know, that may just come to be the thing here come May, June, July, if we can't get this attendance up a little bit more. Let me see here. All right. So if that, look, I remind everybody, as I always do, life can be short and sometimes even shorter than that. So for the people you care and love, let them know you care and love them. And as I always say, I love you guys. I do care about you. That's the only reason I still coach, is I care about touching people's lives the best I can. And sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but I do try. And I love your commitment. Some of the Aussies here, in a wee hour of their morning, and other people even farther, just depending on what time of day it is, and the people after work, before work, some people during work, people traveling, got me on speaker in their car, whatever. Appreciate all that. It means a lot. And so, keep it up. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys next Monday. I'll surely see you in Facebook land. Get your butts over to the ScanSporks and Fibo group. Participate there. Next Level Seekers. And, if you haven't heard it yet, there's a good, all the P's in trading. And I'll leave that as a teaser for the Mindset Mastery that's over there in Traders Mindset Mastery, that's over there in the ScanSporks and Fibos group too, this week's podcast, if you will. So good stuff to reflect on. So with that, I'll see you guys around.